All right, so I'm meeting up with Rob Abram in a few minutes. And this is our first time to this site for both of us. And so we didn't know what to expect. I got here quite a bit earlier than him. I've scoped it out and discovered that the shore is all sand here for the first quarter mile or so. But when you go to the north, it gets rocky. But I'll keep that a secret from Rob and freak him out a little bit when he gets here. Make him worry he might have wasted a 3-hour round trip to check it out with me. It's not the way to treat friends, but deep down, I might just be a terrible person. Hi, I'm Craig the geologist. Welcome to Lake Huron Coastal Preserve. I'm here with Rob Abram of Michigan Rocks.
Hello.
And this is our first time here. We're going to check it out today. This is looking incredibly sandy. A little bit disappointing for a geologist and a rock hound looking for rocks. Will we find rocks today? Stay tuned to find out. And also, yes. All right, so how nervous are you about this sandy beach?
Well, you told me there was a couple rocks ahead, so.
Oh yeah, well let me flip this thing around and show you what you can expect here. Have a look at that, Rob. Look at those rocks.
Ooh, huge.
I mean, you can't even count how many rocks those are. It's spectacular.
There must be hundreds.
Yeah, you got nothing to worry about. Well, let's go back in time a few hours to have a look at this beautiful shoreline just after sunrise. Now, as you might be able to see if you squint at your screen there, this is a rocky shore, despite my jokes with Rob Abram about not finding rocks. There are plenty of rocks to find if you go to the right spots along the shoreline. As you can also see, there are a lot of fallen trees. So there are a lot of hazards you have to climb over as you're walking along the shore. The preserve is near a very large gypsum mine. And I've got stories about trying to get access to that gypsum mine and really embarrassing myself as president of the Geology Club at Michigan Tech. It was absolutely ridiculous. But it is a gorgeous area there and beautiful rocks in the region. Well, now that I've convinced you that the birds have a beautiful view of the location, how about we have a look ourselves at where you come in and how you access the beach. The Lake Huron Coastal Preserve is located right off of US 23 in Alabaster. It has a small parking lot, enough room for a few cars, not a massive crowd. It's got a small bathroom facility and a couple of nice trails over here. Now, it is both convenient and unfortunate that the trail is located so close to US 23, because while it does make this location easy to access, it does mean that for about half of the trail there is quite a lot of road noise. Now, happily, once you get to the shore, you're far enough away from the road that you're only really faintly hearing the largest trucks. But it never really gets completely silent out there. Somehow, apparently 7:15 in the morning is rush hour out here. Perhaps there's a shift change at the gypsum mine around that time. I'm not entirely certain. But this road is incredibly busy for this early in the morning. So the Lake Huron Coastal Preserve touts itself for being critical habitat for migratory birds. And I'm actually here filming during peak migration, so I was hoping to capture some beautiful bird song. However, we're still close enough to the road that just as loud as the birds are the cars, especially the ones that choose to drive over the rumble strip, which seems to be every third car from the sound of it. So if you are looking for a great spot for birding and relaxing to the sound of birds, this is decent, but we're actually pretty close to Tawas Point State Park, and I gotta say that one is quite a lot better for birding, quite a bit quieter, much further away from any roads. So this place isn't ideal for that, but it does have a combination of birds and rocks. And you know, its position close to the road makes it convenient and easy to reach. All right, Rob and I are going to get a close-up look at some of these rocks, and we'll talk about them a little bit. Yeah, sure. Tell me what you found there.
I think it's a mudstone, but it was broken, so it's got this nice fresh surface on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I'm looking at here, see if we can get this in better light, get this away from the tree branches here. You see all that fine layering, and that wavy layering really has me interested as well. That fine layering is, oh, this angle is perfect, is probably indicative of this being a stromatolite fossil. Stromatolites were formed by layers of algae that would form on a surface, and as waves washed across it, they would drop little grains of sand and mud, which would be trapped by the algae, and the algae would grow upwards to try to get to the sunlight. And so what you get is layer after layer after layer of mud and sand being built up as the algae builds its way upward. Normally when you have sedimentary deposits, they're pretty flat unless there's been something interesting tectonically happening. When they're wavy like this, that could be indicative of stromatolite growth, because stromatolites are often very uneven. They just coat whatever surface they're on. All right, here's one that I found with Rob earlier. This is your classic galgandatillite. All right, so over here we got some cyanites here. Oh, with a ladybug. But it may be surprising to some of you who know cyanites for being the stuff you look for when you're looking for euprolites. Those euprolites are gray color, real boring looking. This is not that, and I would be stunned if this had any fluorescent sodalite in it whatsoever. The cyanites are basically granites that don't have any quartz. Granites are very quartz rich. This guy has almost no quartz in it. What it does have is a lot of red feldspar in there, K-spar, or potassium feldspar. And that's something you commonly get with cyanites. Those gray cyanites up in the UP and kind of scattered all over, frankly, that people look for in their euprolites. Those, I mean, they're loaded with feldspar, but it's not that beautiful red potassium feldspar. All right here, we got a real nice piece of chert. It's a very bluish looking rock. You can see there's actually that looks like fossil right there. We got some fossilized coral in there. Look at that.
Yeah.
So this is definitely a chert nodule from a limestone. Those chert nodules formed by silica migrating while the rock is still kind of in a Play-Doh-like texture before it fully lithifies. But chert is not blue. It's never blue. So why is this guy blue? And why is so much chert in the Great Lakes blue when chert isn't blue? Well, chert in our region picks up a manganese oxide coating on it. And that manganese oxide is a grayish blue color. However, when you break this open, and I do not have a rock hammer to demonstrate that, but maybe I'll slice to a shot in my own home where I can demonstrate. Inside of this, you'll find that this is white colored or brown. You will find a typical chert color that is not blue inside. That coating is only on the outside. And I've heard lots of tales of people finding beautiful blue rocks, throwing it in the tumbler, and asking, hey, why did I find all this brown garbage in my tumbler afterwards?
I'm guilty of that.
Have you done that?
Yep.
Oh, that's exactly what happened. You lost your manganese oxide coating on it. All right, well, here's a little local resident I nearly stepped on. I got Rob's attention by shouting and doing a little dance as I tried to avoid squishing him. How you doing, little fella? You don't mind being on camera, apparently. Rob and I were trying to figure out what kind of frog that is, but I don't know my frogs. Rob, are you pretty sure you know?
I was thinking maybe wood frog. I want to say tree frog, but I think those are the green sticky ones. But I don't know for sure.
I'll tell you what, if you know what kind of frog that is, leave it in the comments, because I don't have a clue. That's outside of my my expertise. All right, I found an awfully pretty piece of rhyolite here. There was some debate over whether it was rhyolite or jasper, but I'm pretty certain it's rhyolite. But then I flipped it over and check out that nice big hunk of quartz on there. That's awfully pretty, and it was unexpected. Most of my collecting here today is going to be catch and release, so I'll leave this one out here for you guys. So you happy with the rocks we found out here, Rob?
Very happy.
All right. Yeah, it's not too bad out here. You got to get to the north end of the preserve to find the rocks. The south end is all sand. The north end is all fallen trees and rocks, but the rocks are awfully cool. All right. We got an awfully pretty one here. I got my shoes on. I don't feel like getting soaked, so I won't get super close, but this is probably a monzonite or something. I don't know. They're all different varieties of granite, basically. It's a igneous intrusive. It's a magma that never made its way to the surface, and then we just classify them based on the mineral content. And I don't want to get my shoes wet, so I'm not going to get close enough to tell you what the mineral content is. But it's awfully red. It's got a lot of potassium feldspar. The yellow is probably alkali feldspar. Looks like it might have some quartz in there with the white, but I'm not 100% certain on there. So probably a cyanite, maybe a monzocyanite, something like that.
I was told that calling it a granitoid is safe.
Yes, that is the safe way. Yes, because they're all granitoids. But even geologists will be lazy and call them all granites a lot of the time.
Okay.
When nobody's listening. So we got a couple of beautiful stones here. First of all, on the right we got a pudding stone. Now this doesn't have any red jasper in it, but it does have all the other class you would expect of a pudding stone. It has every characteristic you would expect. And pudding stones are very often kind of an orangish color like that. Actually, let's get real close. I do see some tiny red jasper clasts in there, but they're awfully tiny. But honestly, the rock I'm way more interested in is this guy. Here you see a whole bunch of different textures. You got black amphibolite. You've got gray textured gneiss up there. Little vein of granite up there. A little bit of granite down here. Now when you have a whole bunch of different textures all mixed together, what you've got is a migmatite. I love talking about migmatites. I'm going to produce a much better video about migmatites than, oh, maybe this summer. But migmatites are the most advanced metamorphic rock. These are rocks that went through all the stages of metasomatism, of metamorphism, and then began to even remelt. And that remelting is what produced the granite you see on there. Migmatites are defined as having a whole range of metamorphic textures all kind of mixed together. And boy, is this an example of that. Now I'm going to back off before my feet get any wetter. Gorgeous. I'd like to film and talk about quartzites for just a moment here. The difference between quartz and quartzite. Quartzite is a rock that's made entirely or mostly out of quartz. You can get different colors of them, just like you can get different colors of quartz for the very same reasons. Right here, we have a red, kind of purplish quartzite. You see that grainy texture on that? What we're seeing are fused quartz grains. Quartzite begins its life, if you could call it that, as sandstone. And the quartz grains gradually fuse together to become a solid mass of quartz. So if you sometimes hear me talking about an advanced quartzite or high-grade quartzite, what I'm talking about is just how much fusion has happened in there. Here's another quartzite, very dark colored. Let me get it wet here and maybe that'll show it off a little bit better. There we are. Come on now, get in focus. There we go. Hopefully you can see that grainy texture there. That's what we're looking for in our quartz. Well, in our quartzite, differentiate it from mineral quartz or vein quartz and the rock quartzite. Over here, and it was one I showed earlier, we have a white one that is very high grade, really starting to push the limit of what you can easily identify as quartz or quartzite as opposed to vein quartz. But you can still see a texture on it from the fused quartz grains.
I have a question for you.
Absolutely.
I used to call, I think, almost exclusively quartzite. I just called it quartz because I didn't know any better. Is it safe to say that finding pure quartz or vein quartz, as you called it, is pretty rare?
It is
here in Michigan on our beaches.
It is pretty rare unless you're real close to a source, to the quartz vein itself. You do get quartz veins in the UP. Sometimes I found some quartz veins at the base of cliffs, or rather I should say I find some vein quartz at the base of cliffs that happen to have quartz veins running through them. But they don't tend to be transported very far. And so if you think you found quartz on the beach, what you probably found 9 times out of 10, if not 99 times out of 100, is a piece of quartzite. Well, roughly 3 seconds after filming that quartzite segment, I found another piece of quartzite here that's just got some beautiful color running through it. These colors are caused by variations in the composition. So it probably was not a pure quartz sand or pure quartz sandstone when it was deposited. There were other minerals mixed in with it, and those minerals migrate a little bit during the metasomatism. Metasomatism is the process of metamorphism. And those minerals and their associated colors migrate. And you know, I was telling Rob just a moment ago, minerals are a little bit racist. They they like to hang out in their own little gated communities, and so they tend to migrate and kind of clump together. This is what you're seeing here. All right, well, that was the Lake Huron Coastal Preserve here in Alabaster Township, just south of Tawas, Michigan. Beautiful spot. What do you think, Rob?
I think it's awesome. Just gotta walk past the sand, you'll find the rocks, and it's worth the walk.
That's right. Like I mentioned earlier, the south end is all sand, north end all rocks. You might have to hop over about 70 or 80 trees to get to those rocks, but they're worth it. They're really nice. Some of the rocks we found out there were some interesting cherts, and some of the cherts I found down in Ohio will blow those right out of the water. Just spectacular with agate in there. Nether's Farm, and I've got a video about that. Might be worth checking out if you're interested. And if I was better at doing this, I'd have ended my video by saying thank you to Rob Abram of Michigan Rocks for joining me out there. I had a blast, and I'm really looking forward to our next trip out.